Shortly before the world filled with screams and snarls and the sound of tearing flesh, two riders rolled down Highway 111 like thunder, the engines of their motorcycles barking and rumbling, splitting the morning air mile after mile. Side by side, they filled both lanes of hardtop as they approached Nyland. The desert stretched out on either side of them, a carpet of dust and heat dotted with scrub. The wind in their faces was a blessing, a warm kiss from nature itself. Tyson goosed the throttle on his fly right, and the bobber surged forward. Mac matched him, his drop seat 1200 rattling hard. Both hardtails shook bones and clacked teeth, but neither rider cared. That was part of it, and they'd already traveled over 600 miles to reach Nyland. Now that they were close, the ride was easy as you please. Episode 1, The Slab City Event.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Gasmask Reader. I am your host, the Gasmask Reader. I read books, and then I talk about them, and I wear a gas mask. This episode, I'm talking about The Slab City Event by horror author Nate Southard. He has written quite a few books that I've read, including Red Sky, which was a very scary novel about people who made a wrong turn and got into trouble. Lights Out, which is one of my favorite vampire novels of all time, really. And A Trip to Rundberg, which is a zombie graphic novel that he later adapted into Scavengers. Now, the book I'm talking about this week is also a zombie novel. Or maybe a novella, it's kind of short. Anyway, I have no idea whether or not it's set in the same universe as the other ones, because he doesn't specifically say in the book, so I don't know. It might be, it might not be, it doesn't really matter. Now, the book mostly takes place in Slab City, California, which is a real place in California. And part of it also takes place in Nyland, California, as you probably noticed from the brief reading I did at the beginning. And that is, of course, also a real place. I've never been to either one because I live in Pennsylvania. And frankly, even if I lived in California, I probably wouldn't go to either one, because they don't really sound like the kind of places I go to, and I don't travel. In any case, this story also takes place during the Slab City riot, a gathering of car enthusiasts and bikers and whatnot. The story itself is divided up into 13 chapters. Each one is really its own story, each told from the point of view of a different character. And the first one, which is what I read from earlier, is about two bikers who were on the way to the Slab City riot. And they pass through Nyland and run into zombies. And one of them, in making his escape, accidentally leads the horde of zombies to Slab City. And chaos ensues. The second chapter is called Salvation Mountain, which is set in Salvation Mountain, a real art thingamajig in the area, apparently. And it's about people who observe the horde approaching and try to run away. Then after that, the next one is about the biker warning people at Slab City about the horde of crazed cannibals that are approaching, and of course they don't believe him. And one guy decides to go out and look, and runs into the horde of crazed cannibals that he didn't believe in. But with him is a guy called the Jake, who shows up later and is, as the name suggests, is a giant douchebag. Let's see. Then after that, we run into a bassist and a pair of go-go dancers, one of whom happens to be the love interest of the biker from earlier. who he was in fact looking for, but didn't manage to find, they run away from the zombies and take refuge, and bad things happen because this is a zombie novel. Then they move on to another. Next chapter is about an old man who is trying to rescue people because he's a nice guy. And bad things happen because it's a zombie novel. He does manage to rescue the biker though, because the biker is more or less the main character, or the central character anyway. And let's see, the next story is about a couple that gets trapped in their car when they get into a car accident that was actually witnessed a few chapters ago. They're trapped in the car, surrounded by zombies, and bad things happen. Then the next one is about the Jake again. He, while trying to escape, runs into a meth head militia man with lots and lots of guns and is drafted into the guy's army and forced to fight zombies even though he just wants to run away, and bad things happen. I'm going to be saying bad things happen a lot because this is a zombie novel, and in a zombie novel, bad things happen. Anyway, then the next story is about a man who lives in Slab City and is, used to be a hippie, and basically not a very good hippie though. He reminisces about running into crazed cannibal hippies during a hippie gathering back in the 60s. And then he tries to hunt zombies and bad things happen. And then after that, we go back to the go-go dancers and see one of them going crazy, and bad things happen to her because she's crazy. The other one's okay though. Spoiler. Okay, and then next up we see the meth head militia guy whose name is Captain Vegas, leading poor the Jake out to hunt zombies and also kill anybody else because he's a crazy meth head. And shortly after that, we go back to the old man and his wife and the biker he rescued, who was back in the first chapter, and they decide to make a break for it. This one told from the point of view of the wife. And so, they make a break for it because the husband is, bad things that I don't want to spoil, because I'm trying not to spoil, even though I'm going over a chapter, or I'm a short story, really. I almost like short stories, even if they're also chapters. But anyway, after the old man and his wife and the biker try and get away, the surviving go-go dancer, who is the biker's love interest, manages to escape after running into crazy Vegas killer meth head guy. And then we get up to the final chapter, which I thought was the best part of the book, even if it was really short, and I'm not even going to tell you what happens in it, even vaguely, because it's really good, and I don't want to spoil it at all. But you can probably guess. I know I could tell what was going to happen. So anyway, now that I've tried to give a lengthy summation of each chapter or story in it, time to talk about what I actually thought of the book. Well, I mean, it's a zombie novel. There have been a crap ton of zombie novels. And really, all starting with Brian Keene's The Rising or Max Brooks' Zombie Survival Guide, World War Z. And since then, there have been a crap ton of them, and I'm frankly tired of them, like most people are who aren't complete obsessive maniacs about zombies. And there have been a few good ones in recent years, and this is one of them. I mean, this is technically, I think, 3 years old. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this is actually a pretty good zombie novel. Most of them lately I've read or tried to read have been garbage that I give up on partway through. But this one I finished. And I liked it. One interesting thing about it, though, is that I couldn't help but wonder if it's supposed to be set in some weird alternate universe where George Romero, instead of making movies, took up a career as, a door-to-door salesman or something, because nobody uses the Z word at all. Even though there's a bunch of crazy cannibals charging across the desert, ripping people into pieces and eating them, and the only way they can be killed is by destroying their head, nobody says zombie. This is obviously a deliberate choice. One Southern's part, I don't know exactly why, but kind of stood out. I know if I saw them, I'd be saying, holy fuck, there's a horde of zombies coming this way. But nobody in the book did. I don't know why. You know, that's not really anything wrong with it. It's actually nice to not have people say, oh, it's zombies, we gotta go shoot their heads, because, you know, that gets old quick. The other thing in the book that really did bother me is changes in person. I mean, most of the book is written in the third person, just focusing on whatever central character is in this particular story. But 3 of the stories, for no apparent reason, are told in the first person, which was really distracting. You know, the individual stories are good, but it almost seemed like those 3 were more standalone stories that were just shoved in the book or something. Yeah, they're the ones that could have stood on their own more. But having them be in the first person when the rest of it's in the third person was a bit distracting. That said, I still did really enjoy this book, and it's definitely something I would recommend to anybody who's a zombie fan, or likes horror novels in general, or likes good horror, well, horror books. Okay. Thank you for listening and watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this, and will click subscribe, and I should have more videos coming soon.